Hi everyone, I'm Michelle.
Hi, I'm Tara.
Welcome back to Books and Beyond with Bound. This is season 2, our quarantine edition, and this is our last episode, but the most fun episode so far because we will be discussing why we read what we read, and we have been waiting to record this for so long.
Yeah, we really have. I love recording, episodes with both of us as well because it just adds another perspective. So today we're going to be speaking about our reading habits. So you're going to be finding out about why, we pick up books, what influences, readers' decisions, why do some readers prefer certain genres, how do book blurbs, covers, reviews, all of these things affect the way that we make our decisions, and how reading habits have actually changed so much during the pandemic. So we cover all of these things and give you a little insight into how this industry works, because I know a lot of people, think it's this mystical thing. So we really want to demystify it a bit here.
Yeah, and actually, when we were structuring the episode, we realized there's so much to cover. Tara and I have been bookworms throughout our lives. We never really thought about it, but now that you think of it, so many things actually go into deciding how you actually pick up a book and why you read what we read. And in our research, I actually found out something really enlightening. I had actually thought a lot of Indians have stopped reading or at least have reduced their reading because of the rise of OTT platforms. But apparently, an Indian spends like 10 hours per week reading. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I find that crazy, because everybody, I remember when I was working in publishing and, still working with Bound, people always say that, oh, but, publishing is dying. Nobody is reading anymore. So things like this really give me a lot of hope. And I think there's always a marketplace for stories. And this statistic, this is higher than any other country in the world.
Exactly.
And that's like, wow.
I know. And that's very motivating, right? Like, I mean, please, guys, write more stories because there are readers.
Yes, we are some of those.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, no, and talking about reading, Tara, which is the book that you read last?
Okay, so the book that I read last, this is very interesting. Yeah, I mean, maybe we can speak a little bit about reading habits and the pandemic and all of those things because, I used to be a big fan of dystopian fiction. You know how you have certain like literary reads and then you have like time pass reads. So my time pass was dystopian fiction, and I would want to go into all these strange worlds. And then the pandemic hit, and I had ordered all of these books, to my house, and I'd included it. I had ordered this book called Station 11, which is about a pandemic. And I still haven't read it because, obviously I didn't want to go into that. So then I sort of, quite naturally started shifting towards historical fiction. I guess I just want to be in a different world sometimes. So I was like, if like the future is like uncertain and the present is like really strange, what's more reliable is the past. So I started reading a lot of that, and it's been quite interesting.
So which was the book that you actually read? So if you're talking about historical fiction, maybe you can recommend one book for our readers, and I myself.
So recently I read Indu Sundarasan's books about Mughal women, and that was a reread because I've been rereading a lot. That's another thing that the pandemic has changed for me because, I wanted to be comforted in a way. So I went back to all of these comfort reads, and I have a really, really bad memory. So I don't remember anything I read. So it's a really good thing because when I'm rereading it, it's like new again. So it's The 20th Wife and The Feast of Roses. And it's basically about Jahangir's wife, Meherunissa, who's also known as Noor Jahan, and how she sort of, noticed him when she was a young girl. And, fate, in a twist of fate, she got married to somebody else. And they only got married, he was also always into her. But,
so cute.
All the forces weren't aligning and all of these things, but they never forgot each other. And she was his 20th wife. And she got married to him at around 34, which in those times is like really old, like you're over the hill, right? So like we have like 4-5 years left. But she got married to him and she was his 20th wife, and he didn't have any other wives after her. And then she slowly, like, she was always sort of wanting power. So she rose to become Padshah Begum. which is the highest honor for a Mughal woman. And she actually, like, there's accounts of all these like ambassadors, from Europe coming in as traders and all of those things. And they actually had to, be cognizant of her because she was sort of the shadow ruler because she had so much influence on him.
Talking about, rereading, I have noted it down because I think that's a very, very good strategy for, to comfort yourself. I am definitely going to try that out. No, and Tara, you definitely have a good memory because the way you narrated the story, I would have, see, I am really bad at oral storytelling. Okay. Like if I start a story, I will start with the conclusion.
Why don't you try? What is the recent book that you've read that you really like?
Okay, so my recent read is A Clockwork Orange. It's a very famous Stanley Kubrick movie. It's actually full of violence, so I wouldn't really recommend it. I wouldn't really recommend it to people who find certain stories disturbing.
So why did you pick it up?
What's interesting about the book is, Tara, that the writer came up with a language just for the book. It's called Nadsat language.
Oh my God.
Which is a mix of a Russian dialect. I had always been putting off the reading because I was like, no, I can't do this.
But how does one read that? It sounds very intimidating.
I would say it's a challenge. As a reader, if I know that the writer has spent extra effort into the language, into the plot, then I am immediately intrigued. I am challenged as a reader, So talking about challenging reads, Tara, I know that both of us read God of Small Things recently, which we found very challenging before.
I actually read it because of you. I always had a copy, and then you read it, and you were like, I love it, and I trust your opinion. So then I was like, okay, let me read it.
Yeah, and honestly, Tara, see, if you hadn't read it, I think I was the only person to read God of Small Things in 2020.
Really? I agree with you. I was telling all my friends and they were like, yeah, we read this like back in the day. But what's really fascinating to me is that, I told one of my friends that I read it and they were like, yeah, it was my girlfriend's favorite book when she was 13.
What?
And then I felt really stupid because no, I don't think at 13. I mean, I picked it up when I was actually around like 15 or 16, I think, and I didn't understand it.
Same here. I didn't. I shut the book and I was like, I don't know what this book is about. What are people like?
Yeah, but then you loved it.
Yeah. So what I loved about it, I mean, to maybe speak in a little technical term. So I loved the omniscient narration, and for our listeners who don't know what that is just like a godlike view. Like what Arundhati Roy did brilliantly was that she brought alive everything in the story, be it the plants, be it the water, be it the, the inanimate objects and the characters. I loved that. Like for me, I think it was like a Kerala tourism book.
Because a lot of people, when they read, there are certain books that like everyone has to read, and I would say that this is probably one of them. So like what prompted you to pick this up in 2020?
Okay, yeah. So that's a very good point, Tara. So I think I have, never been that person to go with the flow. I usually, if there is like, like the herd mentality, they say, if usually people are reading something, I will not read that. So
I so relate to
that. Yeah. So this year, I mean, no, it wasn't really a tick mark thing, but it was just an impulsive thing. I said, if not now, when? That's what I thought to myself, that I have been pushing this for far too long. Might as well try it. And I was pleasantly surprised. I think right now I was like prepared for it, but back in school I was really not.
I loved it too, and I didn't expect that I would love it because my memory of it was it's so dense and all of those things.
Yeah, but it's interesting how our views on literature changes as we grow up, right? And it also depends on, I think, how many books we are exposed to, what kind of books we are exposed to. But I'm also wondering, how do you decide which books you would pick, how you would buy them? Because I feel that we are heavily influenced by social media now. We have booktubers, we have bookstagrammers. There are also a lot of magazine lists which are coming out that tell you, these are the top 40 reads that you need to read. So how do you do that?
A lot of lists, there's prizes like JCB prize, Booker prize, all of those things as well. Well, I can, it's very difficult to pinpoint what I do, but it's easier to point out what I don't do. And I don't pick up books based on social media. So I don't follow any bookstagrammers and I don't follow booktubers.
Wow, that is refreshing.
Yeah. if I like a book, then I'll just literally Google books like this and I'll sort of go down a rabbit hole. And that's more or less what I do. So if I really enjoy, and I also rely on my bookworm friends like you and my other friend Mehak, who's a poet, who, I know I trust their taste. So then I sort of rely on their taste as well. And then I do rely on certain websites. So, for example, like Bustle has a lot of interesting book lists. And I know, sorry, I said no social media, but there's one book influencer that I do follow. I don't follow any others, but I follow one because I figured her tastes align with mine, and that is the Book Satchel. Shout out to the Book Satchel because she has like very interesting and different tastes, because I
Very
feel like
different,
a lot of
yes.
these books, a lot of bookstagrammers recommend things which are like currently out. But I've not read so many books that are published even 10 years ago. So, for example, I recently read this book called American Wife by Curtis Sittenfield. And she's recently written a book called Rodham, which became sort of a bestseller. But American Wife was so interesting. And I'll tell you how I found out about it. So I read Becoming, which is Michelle Obama's.
Right, I have to read that. I've heard so much about it.
And then I started Googling, like stories about first ladies and like books about that, because I was interested about, that sort of life. And I found this book, and it's a bestseller, it's a classic, but it was published couple of years ago. And it's a fictionalized version of Laura Bush's life. So, we see her from her childhood. She suffered an accident. She actually killed someone in a car accident, and the repercussions of that. We go into her mind, her relationship with George Bush. It's all fictionalized, but a lot of elements from real life. And I think it was one of the best books that I read.
Wow. I mean, you were literally summarizing the book for me. That's so cool. Like,
Thanks,
I want to pick them up right now. So,
but it was really interesting, and I gave it to my dad, and my dad was like, whoa, this is cracker. Like, this is like, even he thought it was one of the best books that he's read this year. And so I like that process of finding books,
Yeah, I think that, your own discovery or that own methodology of research is very exciting in its own way. I think bookworms would really relate, because I think it's very lazy when you just see something pop up on your screen and you say, okay, fine, I'll decide to read this because, someone told me. But I really like the way you go out of your way to, find a book. And I think that joy is completely different. Tara, it almost reminds me of the joy of picking up a book in a bookstore.
But like, how do you choose books? Like, what is your process of discovery?
I'm a very impulsive reader and writer, so I could be looking at like 10 videos on YouTube. I could be looking at 10, Bookstagram, like, things that come up on your feed, because you don't really have a control on that, right? So there is a very good group on Facebook. I would love to give a shout out to it. It's called Senior Reading Raccoons.
Okay,
Yeah, right. I love their book reviews. So I recently read a book called The Peculiar Life of a Lonely Postman. And whoever I spoke to hasn't heard of that book.
I've not, yeah. But I love the title.
Yeah. And I actually found that book on that group. So, I mean, sometimes it's groups, sometimes it's, friends' recommendations, or even some I find on my own. But I think it's a very dynamic process, and I think it changes every time. And the more unpredictable it is, the more fun. I like a little unreliability in my characters. I don't know, maybe because it's something different, maybe because it is thrilling. So in this,
right.
The postman actually reads the letters that he gets, which is very unethical. Yeah. And yes, and he actually establishes a relationship with one of the women who writes letters to someone else. Yes. And I mean, if I tell you more, there will be spoilers, but it's really fascinating the way the writer has gotten to this character's head. So talking about unreliability, maybe I can give you another recommendation, Tara. Have you read Notes on a Scandal by Zoe Heller?
No, I haven't.
It's an episodic novel. You should. Oh, it is about a very steamy relationship between a teacher and a student.
Oh my
God. and it is narrated by a person whom until almost half of the book you actually trust. And then all of a sudden you are like, oh my God, who have I been reading?
The unreliable narrator. Exactly. So you are a fan of the unreliable narrator.
Yes.
Very interesting. Another thing that I was thinking about, like, how we all have patterns and we like certain types of books. When I was describing these books to you, I realized that I really, really love lives of women, sort of like, all of my historical fiction and there's Laura Bush's life and all of that stuff. Like, I really am attracted to female characters. So, what are the other patterns that you think you gravitate towards, and do you often try to break out of that? Because I remember I tried reading Gentlemen in Moscow, and I was like, I just can't get into this. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I just stick to my sort of comfort level.
Yes,
So, do
yes.
you? Because as writers and editors, and you have to read across genres, right? And which I do. I love nonfiction and all of those things. But in fiction,
Right.
it's sometimes difficult to make a jump. So do you do that?
That's a very interesting question, Tara. And in fact, that is a personal struggle I've been dealing with. Whenever there's a new year, I don't believe in resolutions, by the way, but whenever there's a new year, I usually write down my goals, broader
Right,
than,
yeah.
writing and reading. And every year I make it a point that I'm going to explore more of humor. I'm going to explore more of crime, genres which I have heard so much about, which I want to read, but somehow it doesn't happen. So I would say it's very difficult for me to break out of my pattern, but I am planning to do that. And yes, I would love to mention this. I mean, because I used to not read a lot of nonfiction, you know that, right? But
Right.
through this podcast, and because we have recorded with so many authors on season 1 and season 2, I have been able to get access to nonfiction that I never knew existed. The kind of nonfiction which anybody could read. So
Right.
I'm just mentioning books which I remember. So the first book ever, I think the nonfiction book that we read for the podcast was Struck the India by Rajat Ubekar, and that was mind blowing.
It was mind blowing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like
So for our listeners, who don't know about it, he basically,
yes.
traveled in the backs of trucks all over India, chronicling the lives of truck drivers. It's superbly fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's so daring, I don't know. I think all of these writers are super talented and really daring.
Nonfiction is really interesting to me because it can be used to sort of broaden the reading audience.
Yeah.
Because, fiction is only sort of targeted to a niche audience, but you can really use nonfiction to sell more books, honestly.
That's a very good point.
Because if it's a book about diet or a business book, you'd have that audience coming in. And the other thing I love about nonfiction is, and working as a book editor is the best thing to be doing is, working on nonfiction books because you're learning.
Yeah, you're constantly learning. Yes.
But yeah, coming back to, how we like sort of pick up books. We wanted to speak about libraries because social media and like Amazon and all of these things, have sort of, the library is dead. And so what are your experiences, about libraries?
I have become a reader just because of my school library. Had it not been for my school library, so just to give a context to my, to listeners, so I was born and brought up outside India. Okay. And so it was in a Gulf country. And, I don't know if you know, but in Gulf countries, it's mostly Arabic dominated. You don't really have much of English out there. And I was really grateful that my school had a library. It was full of, Goosebumps books by R.L. Stein, Nancy Drew. Oh, I just fell in love with books, Tara. Because, for me, there was no other way. Like, there were no readers and writers in my family. And my friends found reading very boring, which was unfortunate. they did not like it. They preferred watching movies. They preferred going out. I was really an introvert back then, and I found refuge in books. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember somebody once asked me, what did you want to be when you grew up and you were a child, basically? And this was like when I was like 22 or 23. And I said, when I was a kid, always wanted to be an author. And like my hobby was reading. And they were like, but why? And I was like, I love books. And it's so beautiful hearing about, your story and like all the books, because I can just sort of, when you were speaking about that, I could imagine you there, and, I could relate to myself similarly because my school had a library, but I was really exposed, there was a library called Shimaru Library, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners probably are familiar with, literally 2 minutes walking from my house.
Wow, that's so cool.
So I used to go there every day, and I used to borrow around 4 or 5 books per day because I used to read like Sweet Valley Kids and like Nancy Drew, R.L. Stein. And that's what I would be doing. So my mom actually had to be like, okay, you're not allowed to borrow more than like two books at a time. And you're not allowed to go more than 2, 3 times to the library, because that was, I used to be in my room just reading. And they were like, oh, you have to like, do some other activities as well. I got glasses when I was around 8 or something. And my mom asked the doctor, she was like, should I stop her from reading? And the doctor was like, no,
Oh,
if your kid reads, like, continue with that.
oh, shout out to that doctor. It's really funny, and I can't believe that you used to read so much, Tara. Wow.
Yeah, but like, see, look at where it got us, because we're really doing what we love and things like that. And
That's the foundation. And had it not happened to you that way, or had this not happened to me this way, we would have not been what we are today, right? So, Tara, this reminds me. So, we spoke about, buying books, picking up books, borrowing books from libraries. But, I find it really interesting that when people want to gift you something, like, especially this has happened with me, okay? Like, people have wanted to gift me books, but they wonder, they're like, you've read everything. What would we gift you? So, what about you? Like, do you like have a story? Has somebody gifted you a special book?
nobody's gifted me a book of late, because I think they understand that I read everything. But I was one of the first people to read Harry Potter, because my aunt actually gifted me Harry Potter when I was 8, before it became famous.
Wow, that aunt has great taste.
Yeah, she has very good taste. You mentioned that many of your friends didn't read when you were younger, but
Yes.
now that you're in the you know so many writers. Your mentor is Riya Mukherjee, and you're in this. You built this writers community, which is amazing, where you guys share work with one another and help each other. So do you borrow books from them, or how does that work? Do you guys recommend books to each other?
Yeah, so I mean, I always look for an opportunity to talk about books. I'm very shameless like that. So, what I usually do is I randomly ping, my close writer friends with, talking about books, a book recommendation. So, for example, a book recently made a huge wave in the literary world, which is A Burning by Megha Majumdar. So, I think I have asked around 10 writers that I know that what they thought of the book, because I generally value their opinions a lot. Like you said, because if you know somebody has similar taste, I usually want to know what they've thought of it. Is the book worth the hype? What did they think? Then I would probably think of picking up the book. So that's how. So I would say my conversations are very random, but I also don't miss out on the opportunity to do that, because I know that a lot of people are shy and they wonder, like, what will they think of me if I ask this question? But I just randomly ask. So what I mean is, I would even say that, have you read any reviews of the book? Are you planning to pick up this book? I just randomly ask questions, but that leads to the most interesting conversations about books.
Yeah, no, that's really great that you have that. So, Michelle, you also review books on your own YouTube channel, and also for Bound. And I know you watch a lot of these reviews and things like that. So, what do you think of book reviews in India, that whole sort of industry, and how it informs our reading choices?
So I would say, Tara, like in India, we are still learning how to review a book properly. But I would also say, because we are in the learning stage, we are doing probably authentic book reviews. So, I mean, I don't really want to judge, but because there are so many people reviewing books right now in the West, it's honestly very tough to find out, very good ones. Because what I mean is, I would say people focus on quantity versus quality, Tara. So I think there was a video I had watched recently. This girl read, I think, 50 books in a month. I absolutely salute people who can do that, but I also feel that the joy of reading, or the process of spending time with the book and appreciating what it is, and like you have conducted classes on, read like a writer, so you know what I mean. Like when you actually dissect a story and see, the lovely language that they use, the tools that they use, that is really worthwhile, I think. But most of the book reviewers, they focus on quantity. And I have also noticed many fake reviews, Tara. I don't know if you have also had the same feeling, because I don't think people are genuine all the time.
There are some book reviews, as you mentioned, in India that are very authentic. But, I've had, some of my author friends tell me that they've been actually approached by, some reviewers who say that, I'll say something good about your book if you pay me.
Oh my God, paid promotion.
Yeah, that's so inauthentic, because it's one thing to sort of market a book you believe in, but I mean, it has to be something that you really, really love. And I feel like, that's really false advertising.
And also, Tara, I feel if somebody does not like a book, there is no harm in saying that. The problem is, I've noticed when people don't like something, they don't even give constructive criticism. There's nothing. It's either a fake review which says, oh my God, it was the best thing I've read ever, or it is just like, oh, it was bad.
Yeah, and also there's these like trendy books. So like it was very
Yes.
interesting because Sally Rooney, a lot of people love her writing, and I completely respect that, right?
Yes.
So I read Normal People and I liked it, and then I had conversations with friends and I didn't like it at all. So I put it up on my Instagram story saying that I didn't like it, and you'll be surprised how many people responded and said, oh my God, I'm so happy that you said that, because like I was even afraid to, like, I don't understand why are we living in a culture where we're afraid to not even like a book. And then I like read this whole article about, like, somebody sent me after I posted this story about like how like reading Normal People has become like a status symbol, and I was like, what is going on?
I think Normal People is the god of small things of that time. And I think, Tara, one reason why we both are friends and why we discuss books is even I believe in saying the truth. So I remember putting out, not so favorable review about Accidental Magic. I don't know if you've read that. So it's a
I've
book.
not read it.
Yeah, so it's a book about Harry Potter. Okay, and being a Harry Potter fan, I was intrigued, and it's about fan fiction. So I read it, and okay, so I don't want to say anything about it here, but I'm very glad that I put out a very honest review, and I was surprised by people's support and people saying the same thing. So another person who felt the same was the book satchel, Ray Susan. I am so happy that an influencer like her spoke her mind, because honestly these things really affect the way people see books and the way people see the whole industry.
Right. And we're not talking about tearing. See, we're not talking about tearing anyone down. We don't want you to tear down. We don't want you to tear down Chetan Bhagat, and we don't want you to tear down anyone else at the same place. It's just giving your honest opinion that, hey, maybe I didn't enjoy this book. That doesn't mean that other people don't enjoy it. It's just about being free with our opinions. And
yeah, and also see, as a writer, Tara, so when I give my work for feedback, right, when I really look for feedback, I'm not looking for praise. What I mean is, I think constructive criticism helps a writer much more than praise. While you are definitely a very good writer, while you write a good work, there will definitely be some things in which you can improve on. And also this makes me wonder, Tara, if you don't like a book, suppose you have started a book and you are almost like halfway through, but you don't like it, do you actually DNF it? Like, do not finish it?
yeah, I used to feel so guilty about doing that. Like, everything is competing for your time. And so, even when you're thinking about creating your own content, you're like, I have to compete with books, movies, like everything, right?
So much. Yeah.
But I definitely, chuck a book. I think I chucked one of the books that you recommended to me.
Oh my God.
What about you? Do you do that?
Yes, all the time. I would say I have become more confident in trusting my instinct. So if I feel that this book is not going anywhere, it's only going to get worse, then I just I shut it. So yeah, and also, Tara, it makes me wonder, because we are talking about reading habits in the pandemic. Have you switched to ebook? I have started reading paperbacks and hardcovers much more, because I'm fed up of looking at screens, Tara. My eyes are so tired because of all the the on-screen news. What about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the middle, when like there was nothing going on, then I actually did switch to ebooks because there was no choice. But I'm back to my physical books now.
That's great.
So, another trend that we're noticing nowadays, which goes hand in hand with social media, is, and we've had some interesting conversations about, marketing your book on this podcast.
Right.
Nowadays, an author is so in your face, and that's great because that book is so prevalent. But I wonder what happens to, people who don't like social media, who aren't out there. It's almost like this compulsion that, only the books that are sort of promoted heavily will be noticed, versus other, great books that may not be.
No, very, very true. Even I've wondered about that, because sometimes I have this fantasy that I will go completely off social media. I know I can't do that, and I won't do that because it's very difficult. But like you have this sense of utopia where you don't have to rely on social media for anything.
I mean, it informs so much of our narrative. Yeah.
A lot, definitely. Are you a fan of audiobooks? Because for somebody who struggles to listen to audiobooks, it's because what happens is after I've listened to it, at a point, I forget what has happened.
One of my friends was like, I was resisting and resisting and resisting. And one of my friends was like, you absolutely have to check it out because we're so sick of screens, and even reading, our eyes get tired. So I would really recommend audiobooks to our listeners. And I started with my first one, which is Shoe Dog, which is a memoir of the founder of Nike. I want to ask, how do you think your reading taste shifted during the pandemic?
Okay, for me, unfortunately, I have not been able to read or write much in the pandemic, which I have been struggling with. I have started keeping a timetable. I have, told myself you need to wake up earlier, Michelle, to set out some time to read or write. But that hasn't been happening. Last year, when I used to travel for work, right? I used to read in the trains. It used to be my everyday thing. And I used to look forward to the journey, just because of that, because it's a very long journey. And I would, I think once I even finished a book just to and fro. Yeah, but yeah. I really miss that now, because now it's just that, now it's everything has blurred, like the work, your personal commitments, your hobbies, everything has blurred. So it's a little difficult that way. But I'm learning, and I do hope that the pandemic will end soon. This conversation will be never ending. Tara, there's so much to talk about. It's because I think, we even haven't met for quite a while.
Yes.
I think we can go on and on about books. But anyway, so I just hope that from whatever we covered, I hope that we do also understand what our listeners do. How have reading habits changed for you? And, what do you read? So please do send us, your recommendations. We would love to hear from you. And now, we have a quick rapid fire round. Okay. So Tara, do you read at a stretch or you take breaks?
Always at a stretch. What about you?
Oh, I take breaks, and which I really regret. I don't finish the book because of that.
Okay. Bookmarks versus dog earing.
I would want to say bookmarks, but unfortunately dog earing.
Yeah.
Don't kill me. Okay. Annotating versus not annotating your book?
Not annotating.
Yes, I know that. Okay, I just wanted to mention because I know that about Tara. And Tara's copies are immaculate. Oh my God. It's almost like somebody hasn't read the book. I don't know how you do that, Tara. It is commendable.
I like keeping them that way.
Yeah, and despite being an editor, I thought you would have marked down so many things, but I salute your self-control.
So buying versus borrowing?
Buying.
Same here. Okay, speed reading versus deep reading?
Deep reading. Anytime. When I would recommend that to everyone. What about you?
It's a mix of both.
You are a very fast reader.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Traditional publishing versus self-publishing?
I would have to stick to traditional publishing. What about you?
Same here. Anytime. Unless you are really pushed to do that. Traditional publishing is the right way.
This was really, really interesting. But I hope that you guys, got some insights, or, it was just interesting for you guys because it was for us.
Exactly. And I would love to hear from you guys. Like, how did you start reading? Was it a library? Just like how Tara shared her, story about visiting the library every day. So guys, we are all ears. Just send us your stories. We would love to hear them.
So thank you so much to our audience who's been with us through our podcast and, also our online classes. So stay tuned because we have, many giveaways for you guys with regards to these classes, and follow us to find out more. As usual, we are at Bound Podcast and at Bound India on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. We also have clips of this podcast on our YouTube channel, Bound India. Thank you so much for coming with us along this amazing journey, and we will be back next year with another list of authors, more topics, more genres, more conversations. So I hope that everybody stays safe, and until next time.
Yes, until next time. Bye, guys.